Summer's full of reasons to look your best. Tecovas Western boots are handcrafted in over 200 steps with premium cowhide and exotic leathers, and they're comfortable right out of the box. No break-in period, just boots you can wear all summer long. Their performance shirting and premium denim keep you cool and put together wherever the season takes you. And of course, you can always stop by tecovas.com. Tecovas, forever West.
It's time for this week's Here's How. And this week, here's how to fake your death to avoid that prior commitment. So your next door neighbour's gone caravanning it again and left a teenager at home on their own and asked you to keep an eye on them to make sure they don't burn the house down. A tricky situation, hard to escape this sort of dilemma, but if you hire a bunch of actors off a Gumtree to turn up to your house a few days before and have some flowers arrive with your name made out of them, and a few black cars take them all away in some grand ceremony, then just spend the next few days crawling around so they can't see you through your window, you should get away with it. Then just claim it was your cousin's death and apologise for any confusion. Bringing snacks to a function can feel like a lot of work, but nobody is expecting biscuits from the guy that died spelunking in a Cotswold cave. And all you need is to turn your phone off, remove the battery and SIM card, and sleep in a tent for a week at a campsite. Then, just come back and tell people about how you got stuck down that hole you told them about. Maybe fast whilst you're camping and stay out of the sun. A fella stuck in an hole doesn't generally tan very well. You'll need to get a few sides of pork and then cut the trotters off. Then, you're going to pack them into your car's driver and passenger seat, obviously, after dressing them all in clothes and shaving your hair off and shoving the air in there. Maybe piss on the half-pigs too. Then, you allow your car to gently roll down the hill along the Crash Bandicoot-esque style assault course that you've prepared for it. Battering rams that launch into the side windows, a huge spike that pierces the engine, chainsaws dangling on chains that can cut through the roof and windscreen. Get some engineers to create a robot that can come out and flip the car with a hydraulic lift. Then release all the oil-soaked logs that you had piled up at the top of the hill behind the car when all this is over. When they reach the car, they'll hopefully catch on fire, possibly concealing the fact that there was a butchered pig spread across two seats attempting to control an out-of-control vehicle, or at least obscure the truth long enough so you don't have to pick your nephews up from school whilst your sister gets her breast implants. Order a lifelike silicone sex doll modelled on your own body, and after expelling some of your DNA all over the rubbery flesh, carefully peel out the outer layer away, and then hang around at the bottom of a cliff. Now, obviously, you'll need to pick the right type of cliff. You want the sort of one where people regularly dive off to kill themselves, and when they do, either fill the hollowed out masturbatory aid with the newly formed sad gunk off the rocks, or, if possible, just envelop the newly vacated body with the fake skin from your dickleganger. No one will be expecting you to turn up at your cousin's wedding if you've already ended it all by swan diving into the pebbles. So you promised to help at a community function, but that red-headed single mum of three that runs the place isn't actually single. No problem, just hack your mum and dad's Facebook pages and post a nice simple RIP to our son post on each. Maybe a few light details about how you'd been struggling with loneliness or whatever, and how you hadn't been able to find a woman, things like that. That news will travel fast, and you won't be expected to turn up to give soup or plant flowers or whatever it is you've agreed to do. Plus, you might be able to see some comments from women that your parents know, saying things like, "Oh, if I'd have known, I'd have shagged him," and other such comments that get left on Facebook posts when someone dies. The next time your nan goes out on her mobility scooter and gets lost, spend the day answering your phone saying, "Hello, Ted's phone," or whatever your name is if your name's not Ted, and say that you're really sorry to say this, but you're currently sat with who you presume is Ted because you've got his wallet and his phone in your hand, but it's hard to tell if it is him because of what the Jack Russell's done to his face and throat. When your missus asks you to go brew up, feign a stroke and start to drag one leg as you go towards the kitchen. Then, when you're out of sight, drag the dining table over onto its side and lie next to it. Just ignore her as she starts to shout and panics around you, just staring at her, dead in the eye, whilst holding your breath. When you inevitably have to gasp again or start laughing, she'll be in no mood to share a hot drink with you and may even go out for a couple of hours, meaning that you've only now got to make one drink. So you've agreed to help your uncle with his dodgy printer, but your cooler uncle from the other side of the family has invited you to the greyhound racing and you'd rather go there? Take some photos of yourself in very distinctive clothing, and then a photo of just that pile of clothing on a random track through a woods or forest. Full colour photos. Then make some posters and put them up all around town with captions saying, "Have you seen Ned? Last seen in these clothes, but later vanished." Backdate the posters and rub them with a tea bag so they look older, so it looks like you disappeared a few weeks ago. The sun's out, and you said you'd cut the grass on the next dry, sunny day. It's time to whip out the turkey legs from the freezer. You're going to go into the garden and place them in your shoes next to the lawnmower. Then, very carefully manage to allow the lawnmower to explode. You'd have to figure out the timings, otherwise you could actually die. Break your lawnmower and waste a couple of turkey legs. But if you do it right, your partner looks out of the window, sees a ball of fire and some disembodied shins in shoes. And nothing else. Maybe you want to hire a street busker to go to your loved one's door and give a message. "I've got some news I was paid to share with you. John can't come and do what he said he'd do. He had an accident in his workplace. His tie dragged him into the big wood lathe. They think he never tightened up the clamp. If he survived, he'd need to use a ramp. His face got peeled off, it was a mess. I'm here to pass his regards to you and Tess. He can't help shift your freezer. He can't move your couch, mate." Bit of Asia there. Of course, there's other times where it might be useful to remember different ways to get out of various responsibilities. Cutting your neighbour's hedges feels tedious, but you've been struck down by some sort of ancient curse. Feeding your friend's cat whilst they have gone away, but a bus just came and knocked you over. Your mum has an appointment at the hospital, but you got shot dead in an illegal badger cull. Your wife wants you to pick your son up from his school, but you got decapitated by your brother and dismembered by the other. You said you popped to the shop, but you just had a heart attack. Gotta wash the car, but you've hung yourself. Regrout the bathroom, but you burst your appendix. Barbecue on a Tuesday, electrocuted. Move your kid out of their flat. Toxoplasmosis. Scoop the leaves out of your pond. Fatal dysentery. Washing up the pots. Stabbed walking to the shops. Take the dog for a walk, please. And stung by 12 bees. You said you might take your nephew to the zoo, but you've just eaten that thing that turns your toilet water blue. Bit of Paul Simon there. And that's the end of this week's Here's How. Don't forget to have a look at Fat Pete's prints, guys, because there's shirts on there that you might like. This week's shirt is just an old lady sucking on a mallard, so that's got to be worth a look in it. If you're in the Discord, you'll have already seen it. But join the Discord as well, I suppose. Join the Patreon, maybe, if you've not already. That could be nice.